Good evening, and welcome to another peculiar episode of Diatribes from the voice of doom. Now here's your pedantic and perspicuous host, voice of doom. Thank you, Mr. Announcer. I had a urge to do a diatribe, even though I have nothing to say, and I know what I talk about, but I kind of go back to my old method of expostulation by just getting a few little ideas about what I think about and kind of free associating a bit, which is a dangerous thing to do for anybody, but it's fun to let your mind just wander from thing to thing. And, it is a Saturday, so nothing happens on the weekend. So I watch the news, and people are wringing their hands and railing about the latest madness, which gets maddeninger and maddeninger, and more perplexing, and absolutely mind-boggling. And you're wondering why it's happening, and they ask why, and then they move on to another subject. I'm having a mudslide today, which I know it should be in a chimney glass. I'm sorry. But it's tasty. I like those Irish cream type of drinks. A little coffee in there. I don't know. I made a little concoction. At any rate, what was I going to talk about? Well, so I kind of started, if you want to free associate, I saw the latest outrageousness about how New Jersey, I guess, is going to fully implement transgender education to people that are very young, 5, 6, 7, and make them feel comfortable if they're uncomfortable, which may make them uncomfortable, but never mind that. They have little cartoons and little things like, if you feel a certain way, that's okay. Something wrong with that, and I know there's something wrong with that. And I know they're saying it because they have made people a certain way, and that's just the way it's going. So if you're going to fiddle with nature, then what you have to do is start adapting to your fiddling. It's hard to explain. I think you get it. But it got me thinking about when I first became a Buddhist, and I was really active, and I really kind of was a little bit ambitious even. I had a pretty steady job, and I hadn't yet gotten married. I was about to get married, but I decided I was going to go get my teacher certificate. I don't know how I did it. It was at Cal State, LA, and I don't know even how to get there now, but I must have driven the freeways, and I had to come from Hollywood, and it's a nightmare. But I took the courses, and I will tell you right now that it's very easy. I had a hard time not getting an A in any of the classes that I took. And the CBEST, which you have to take, is about 10th grade level. And I think I almost aced it. And when I say ace, I mean no mistakes. I think they might have marked me down on my essay, maybe for penmanship. But yeah, hundreds. But I started taking the classes, and I went into the first education class, which is kind of an overview of how we're going to treat kids and how we think of this country, and we think of the system, the education system. And I realized right away that this is going to be a long road to hoe, because I wasn't going to get along with them. I could tell. And all I wanted to do was teach music or band. But I really wanted to teach music history, and I realized the arts are slowly being weeded out of high school to be replaced by gender studies. And that didn't discourage me as much as when I kept taking the courses now. There was education theory. I had to take 2 semesters of that. And when I took that class, which was very easy to get an A in, I realized that this old guy was a lefty big time. But he didn't wear it on his sleeve. He wore it by what he made us read. And he made us read Pedagogy of the Oppressed, of course. It gets us thinking about how unfair it is for everybody. We read Rilke, which was good as a poet, and an essayist. And we read 1984, and we read Brave New World. And I clicked back to Brave New World because although people think we're kind of in 1984, we're actually in both those novels right now, both of them. Now, if you don't recall, first of all, in Brave New World, there was no natural procreation, okay? They wanted an orderly society where people were genetically produced. And certain people were bred from the birth to be a certain level. Alphas, the lower level management types, the top level elite, the working class, and then the proles. And they were all programmed genetically to love what they were doing. Sex was not allowed, except it was allowed, but there was no intimacy allowed. You couldn't just get together with a woman in the strict sense of the word woman, that you know, and a baby comes out. You couldn't have an intimate relationship. You could only have casual sex. And they taught kids from an early age that you had casual sex and there was nothing weird about it. It's just a natural function, but you're not going to have kids. That's not going to happen. So that was the way that story went, and I can tell you more, but I don't want to. You should read it yourself if you haven't already. Basically, they desensitized, or didn't even desensitize, they just kids from birth were taught that sex was casual. It was nothing to worry about. So look at what's happening now. And I'm getting a little bit suspicious about this. I don't know whether they want to normalize pedophilia, and I don't mean feet, or just desensitize kids and they're just sexual objects from the moment they come out of the womb. This is a kind of a horrible thought to me. I mean, I'm old-fashioned in a way. I believe in getting married and having kids and raising them together and the whole thing. I'm sorry. I know it's totally wrong. I'll probably be banned for even saying that, but I just thought back on when I tried to get a teacher's certificate, and I would have gotten it because it was really not hard. But my first kid was in the hopper, and I had a regular job from 9 to 5, and I didn't want my wife to go back to work after she had my kid because I just wanted her to stay home because it wasn't cost effective to get a daycare. And I didn't want the system or anybody else. Even though my wife was a piece of work, I'd rather have her raise our kids than put them in a daycare. That's just me. I know it's not proper. Kids should be totally socialized with other kids in some sort of a holding area so they can be properly educated. But at any rate, going back, my kid was coming, and then they said, well, now all you have to do is pay to student teach. I got to pay you tuition to work for free. And I don't have time to do it. I can't just quit my job. Now, maybe I could have finagled it, gotten grants or this or that, but I was seeing the writing on the wall, and I knew I would be in the administrator's office every single day. Because I would say, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to teach this way. And whatever. I knew I'd be at odds with them because I was starting to get a little bit more righty. Because at the same time, I was reading up on Jefferson. And not liking what I was reading. It's more deep than you could possibly imagine, and it's not that deep, but everybody's in cahoots. I could go through the whole litany of crap from Iran-Contra and going forward. Everybody's got their finger in that pie, and it may be right and it may be wrong, but, you know, the elitism is annoying. And the education system was annoying. I knew it was going to be annoying the first 10 minutes I was in that first indoctrination class, the orientation class. We are not a melting pot anymore. We are a salad bowl. We do not want everyone to assimilate into one culture. We want everyone to be free to express their own culture. And the minute I heard that, I go, this ain't going to happen. I'm not going to be a teacher. So I was never a teacher. Maybe I'll do it. I have many more years to go. But this has to be on my terms. If you can be a band teacher, then you better be quiet and listen and we get the songs down, because you can't be running around and acting like apes and have people know that. I went into the... Just tell you this, since we're talking about my education. I was at CS, whatever, Cal State, LA. And I went to help, we went to a school. That was my part of my classwork, is I had to, go to this school and kind of be an assistant and kind of observe and kind of help a little and this or that. So he sent me to the inner city, which was fine. And it's like, well, okay, you want to be a music teacher, we'll put you in the band room. So I went in the band room, and the band leader's trying to lead the band, and he's got a study hall going on the other side of the room. So he's got a bunch of people in study hall sitting there horsing around and yelling and screaming. And one student that was actually reading, and I went up to him and I said, you're the only guy that's going to succeed. And I don't know what became of that, but I knew it, because this guy was diligently reading and whatever, and everybody else was acting like, orangutans. And it was inner city, and I don't care. I'm going to tell you what city it was. It was inner city Anchorage, Alaska. They were orangutans, and they were ruckusing out, and you can't teach band when you got a whole bunch of kids acting like idiots over in the other side of the room. So that wasn't going to work for me. It's like, hey, everybody's going to shut the hell up, or there's going to be serious repercussions. So I knew I wasn't cut out to be a teacher. It's interesting, though. I've done a lot. Now that I think about it, I keep forgetting I've done more than I actually did. Being a teacher wouldn't be that hard. I mean, classroom management, yeah. And it's not easy, and it's a lot of work. God, you got to grade all the papers, and if you're in middle school or high school, you got 5 classes. Oh my God, it's a lot of work. So it's a thankless job, but at the same time, they're indoctrinated, so they're just part of the, I won't say Schulenstoffel or whatever they called the SS. I mean, they're just part of the system. They go along with it, and they got their union, and it's all a pile of crap. And we all know it. I don't want to go into details about the teachers' union and COVID, because that's been done to death. You just put all of that stuff together, and some guy in New York saying we got to mask 2 to 4-year-olds. Well, those ages have to be met? Okay. Don't say nothing more about that. So, I didn't say anything. Free association. I hope you got something out of it. I might not even post it, because it was probably excruciatingly boring. But I just thought I'd give my perspective on the Los Angeles education system as it existed in 1995. And that's that. Goodbye.